What are you laughing at, Lynch?
What the board's saying up there, how Ezekiel Elliott is reacting to what's happening to the Cowboys.
Read it. Go ahead.
Everyone in the locker room is pissed off.
Yeah. Yes. They didn't look very happy walking off the field there last night. What do we got here? I got to stop reading these Facebook. Why did I try reading them? Now it's coming in like crazy.
I know.
Because the Facebook wall's down. Can we fix this? Oh, it's a Facebook issue, they tell me. So, Sean in Saskatoon has written in, and he says, "Hey, Rod, if you aren't seeing the Facebook wall," this is on the Prairie Mobile text line, "here are my thoughts. I think Matt Nichols is looking at the exit. He hasn't ever played a full season. He didn't win the Grey Cup, but I think Caleros will follow O'Shea, and Nichols could be in Ottawa or Toronto. But this is all dependent on what happens with O'Shea." He said, "It's hard to say when Nichols has never played a full season. And Caleros has the concussion injuries, even though he looked great the last 4 games of the season." So that's from Sean in Saskatoon. Tanner in White City says, "Who are the Bombers' quarterbacks next year? Zach seems like the odd man out to me, but he won them the Grey Cup." What an odd and curious conundrum.
Yeah. Guy just wins the Grey Cup and, is the hero. Yep. And the hero. And
is he? Wasn't the MVP?
No, not of the game, but he's the hero of the season. And he's saved the season, and he's the greatest storyline in the CFL for the year, and nobody wants him. Potentially, right? The injury still looms, and it still becomes a bit of an issue. But you know what? It's hard to find an elite level quarterback or that starting quarterback who can win lots of football games, and that's what Zach does. He wins games. At least he did in Saskatchewan, and he did when he got picked up in Winnipeg. He won football games, so it's not a bad option. I would have an insurance policy, but I wouldn't be scared to take a flyer on Zach Caleros.
Matt Nichols.
Matt Nichols,
he's injured every year. So, I mean, he said you got to be worried about him, too.
Yeah. Well, if you're Kyle Walters, are you happy right now? I would think you're still happy. But when do you get the champagne out of your eyes and go, wait a minute, wait? My coach isn't under contract. None of my quarterbacks are under contract.
Pretty soon, boy.
Start having tremors.
Is this a problem or is it not a problem for him? Is it a good problem or a bad problem?
Start having tremors about another 30-year, drought, and it's just like,
right?
How do we keep this like? And that's the age-old question. The Patriots, the Stampeders, it was the Alouettes, but how do you keep this rolling year after year after year after year when there's so many free agents too? The 1 and 2 year deals, more specifically the 1 year deals, and the fact that we just keep getting rid of guys like after 1 year. There's so much turnover. How do you build that consistency and build that winning tradition?
What about the fact that if you're in Winnipeg, McManus looking at this thing, do you call Strevler a quarterback? So there we have three quarterbacks then. We're supposed to have only 2 quarterbacks this year, right? That's the rule. That's what they're saying. And what do you call Strevler? A halfback then?
That's the value of having a Chris Strevler who can, he could play in the backfield. He could play it as a slot back. He could play special teams, tight end. So there's. Are
you sick, Dupes?
Yeah, I'm kind of getting a little stuffy. It's
you're running too hard, man.
It's becoming a problem.
You're working too hard.
But that's the thing with Chris Strevler. You can do a little bit of everything. Put him on special teams, just like Taysom Hill in New Orleans.
Yeah, but is Chris Strevler a starting quarterback? Is he a franchise quarterback in the CFL? In the summertime, people thought that he was.
Yeah,
some did. Sure. Craig Smith did, our director of scouting, by the way. And then by late October, he's like, this guy's disappointed me.
What happens if he gets cut? He picked up pretty quick, guys.
That's what they thought.
Who, Strevler?
Yes.
He's not getting cut. He's a free agent. He's going to be a free agent.
But that's what they thought about Brandon Bridge, too. And Chris Strevler is an amazing athlete. He's a great backup quarterback and a great athlete and a really great pace.
But he'll never make more than what a backup quarterback should make.
Probably
in the
not,
CFL.
Unless but he could if he's contributing in other ways. If he's coming off the bench and playing every game in that change of pace role, and he's playing out in different spots, and he's a contributor, I see no reason why he shouldn't get paid as a number 1 or a top 1A or as a good receiver would get paid or a good running back would get paid. I see no reason why that can't be the case when you allocate your dollars to a playmaker. Just he's going to play multiple spots.
It's interesting watching how this is all played out. When I saw Strevler shirtless with a fur coat and a cowboy hat, lustily celebrating the Grey Cup championship. I thought, good for you, man. But then I thought about something else. Aside from Joe Namath, I think most general managers are looking at a guy partying that hard going, do I want that guy leading my team? Sorry to say, that's one thing that just struck me.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the documentary on Joe Namath, by the way, A Football Life?
Yes, I have. And he was partying hard, this guy. Strevler was really
He makes Strevler look like Cody Fajardo.
Yeah, he did.
Joe Namath. But there's a story where the night before the AFC Championship game, Lynch, in 1966, Namath was jailed for public drunkenness the night before the game.
Yeah.
The next morning, they're paying his, bond to get out.
Yeah.
And cops raced to lay bets on the opposition. I think they were playing Buffalo because they're like, did you see Namath last night? Didn't even know his name. We put $300 down on the Bills to win.
Yeah.
Namath goes out and has the game of his life, goes to the Super Bowl.
And
they win.
Yeah, they win.
So,
How does this happen?
right. I don't think Chris
keep all
Strevler is
three.
Joe Namath. I don't think he's Joe Namath. Should he be forgiven for partying that hard?
No.
Would that, you say no?
He was so happy. Didn't you hear me say, this is man on the Toba. I've never lived like this. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
It was very Winnipegish, wasn't it?
Oh,
Lynch?
sure was.
When you
It
win
sure
the
was.
when you win the Grey Cup, you almost have a license to do what you want.
I know,
for a
but-
little bit, but it does tell you a little bit into the window of who the guy is.
Sure.
And everybody loves it. The life of the party's got charisma, and he's got the attention of
got
everybody.
chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
And
but
by the way-
but when you need him most. Is he going to be asleep under the stairs, or is he still going to be leading the
Of course.
team? Right?
He broke the.
That's the question.
He was carrying the Grey Cup and it fell apart.
Was it him?
Yep, it fell apart on him. That's very embarrassing. But guys, I'm willing to bet you that all three of those quarterbacks will be in the Bomber roster this year.
Can't.
Well, Strevler will be a running back supposedly, an emergency quarterback. That's what they'll call him.
I'll be willing to bet you right now that not all three are on the. They can't afford all three. They just can't. And the only reason they could right now is because Nichols was on the injured list. So they had some extra money.
Can't. You got to have somebody in there holding a clipboard.
That's McGuire, though. Sean McGuire.
There you go. Who's actually there to learn and become the future down the road. You got to. That's what your third string quarterback does. Runs the scout team and learns from the others. 1 and 2 are your real options to play football games. You don't need a 3. Even though we deal with injuries and stuff, there are free agent veterans that will be out there too.
It'd be
just
great
like
to
Caleros
give,
was.
It'd be great to give Wade Miller a call, and say, Wade, how you doing? Nice. Congratulations, Wade.
And what?
Ask him, how you doing? Things look good, for you for the future.
Yeah.
Are you being sarcastic or?
I'm being
if-
sarcastic.
Well, yeah. Oh, Clark has pointed out. I couldn't hear you, Clark. Sorry, these guys were so loud over here. He says, remember the rule change, no more 3 quarterbacks. I sure hope that's not true. I didn't watch all of the commissioner's news conference Friday from Grey Cup, but we watched quite a bit of it in here.
Yeah, we did.
And he did address that. And from what I could hear, Commissioner Randy Ambrosi said, well, the third quarterback isn't really that necessary. When's the last time they've actually seen the field? And I'm not sure I want to touch that today. I'll be writing about that in the weeks ahead and what the football people think about that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not
As
good.
one coach said to me, coached in the CFL and NFL, he said, it would look very junior varsity-ish to have 2 quarterbacks and have to bring in your backup corner to play quarterback at a pro football game.
Forget
It's a joke.
Forget in the game. Because,
That's not going to happen,
because,
is it?
Because the numbers actually, I don't know. I don't know what the numbers say, but I can't imagine I'm with Randy in the fact that I can't imagine there's a lot of third string quarterbacks that have come in to play and impact a football game. But that being said, your starting quarterback goes down, you better have another backup. Like a third stringer to back up your backup in case that happens. But it's also that's how you learn and grow in what we're considered the most important position in football. And we're not going to train the next guy, and we're not going to develop young quarterbacks. And we wonder why we can't develop Canadian quarterbacks either. If it's up to me, have a 4th quarterback if you want to develop more young, good Canadian quarterbacks
On the practice roster.
And when we talk about the number of elite quarterbacks in a 9-team league, and we have 2, 3 elite quarterbacks, maybe 4, only half the league. There should be enough for every team to have one and keep the league competitive. But you can't. It's kind of the same thing that's happening in hockey in Canada with it becoming more expensive. You'd have 10,000 players, you find 2 stars. right? In every age group, every year. Now, with more players playing other sports, because more things are available, it's harder and harder to find those stars and the next face of your game. And it's the same thing in football. We need more quarterbacks. We need more people playing the position so that we can find those stars. It's not going to happen by limiting
guys,
it.
let's have the two quarterbacks. We got two quarterbacks there, Caleres and Nichols. They both get hurt in the same game. We all know that there'll be a third quarterback show up somewhere in the next game. Quickly from somewhere in Winnipeg.
Sure, but he won't know the offense. He won't know his teammates. Like that. It's not right.
He will have practiced with the team all the time.
Or
you guys all know that. Hey, we never had
As
a situation.
the rules will say, if what we are led to believe is going to happen, he won't be able to practice with his team.
Then they're going backwards. Hey, we never had a year like this one.
Yeah.
Hideous for injuries with quarterbacks.
I know.
And we're thinking of cutting back a quarterbacks. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, but the coaches outcoach every rule. They do. They find a way to coach the rule. So you put a rule in to change something.
It's their job.
It's their job. So you're going to have your third quarterback won't be a traditional quarterback. It'll be your Strevlers, your Brian Bennett's, who will be playing as special teams players, Slubbicks, or Nick Marshall, who's playing as a cornerback who can play quarterback. Those will be your third string guys.
Calgary wants to be heard this morning. Jack in Calgary writes in on the Prairie Mobile text line. Prairie Mobile, your authorized SaskTel mobility dealer with dealerships all across the prairies. He says the Stampeders have 28 players going into free agency. They've lost 2 coaches for this offseason, now 2 years in a row. But in Huff, we trust. And you should. Why wouldn't you? It's interesting that Nick Lewis was on here last week very proudly saying that the Calgary Stampeders have never fired a coach. And then this happens with Pete Costanza. And I heard that it had to do with the coaching salary cap. But if you've read the quotes, and I don't know what happened. I'm Facebook friends with Pete. He put a statement on there about leaving. It was very classy. It very much looked like a mutual parting of the ways. The guy's won 3 Grey Cups in his time with the Calgary Stampeders. Clearly not leaving on bad terms. So is that string that Nick Lewis was bragging about still alive, that they've never fired a coach? What do you think?
I don't know.
It's hard to say, isn't it?
It's really hard to say.
Got to think back a long ways.
Yeah. I mean, they've had such consistency and success over the years.
Who was the coach before Huffnagel?
Matt Dunnigan?
No.
Jim Barker?
Dunnigan's below. Jim Barker, pretty sure Barker, yeah.
Was Higgins, did he take a role in
Calgary? Higgy baby.
He was in there too, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack in Calgary, tell us, who was the coach before John Huffnagel? Remember that horrendous era, which just seems like
and it was
a couple of weeks ago, the Federic era.
Oh,
remember? F-Troop.
Yeah.
Fred Fateri.
He brought the team for his kid so his son could throw the football. He was a great left-handed quarterback.
That always worked so
Brigham
well.
Young.
Oh, yeah.
He was great. He got to throw the ball pretty good.
No, he couldn't. They were awful.
No, but the rest of the team was terrible. Old man's best friend was the general manager.
Yeah, Fred Fateri.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And Dunnigan was the coach. Poor Matt Dunnigan. Do you remember that era, Darren?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited for Matt Dunnigan to get the opportunity to be a coach. And this is why I just want to stress to all of the coordinators who are highly sought after as head coaches, Paul LaPolice leading the charge, you got to make sure it's the right fit. This is your chance to make a statement. And if it's not the right fit, as we know in football, very much a team game. And it's the same thing in the front office, too. If you don't have good people around you, you're not going to have success. And if the head coach loses, and that's your statement, it's hard to overcome that.
Our director of scouting, Craig Smith, watching this morning, he says, love this talk. What a great show this is. Thank you, Smitty. And throughout this CFL offseason, I would advocate having Smitty on the show every day. He hears things. He's part of this world.
Oh, yeah.
Craig, if you have anything to add, chime in, text us, call us. Shoot, come on down. We're still waiting on Dave Naylor. I don't know what the deal is if we're having video connection problems. We have at times had problems with him, video-wise.
But it's been better.
It's every time he comes on, it's been a little bit better. And speaking of having the people around you want, Darren, or the right people, I had got a tip last night that there is a coaching shakeup coming with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And whether it's today or the weeks ahead or the months ahead, like into the new year, it's coming. So the team transitioning away from what was the Chris Jones era, more into the O'Day Dickinson era.
And I support that. I support that. I think what Jeremy O'Day and Craig Dickinson have done has, the moves they've made have been great, and the way they've conducted themselves has been great. And when I see them in the community now, them and I haven't had direct interactions with Jeremy O'Day or Craig Dickinson since they've been in this position. But I see them, and I've been in the room with them and watched them interact. They just fit. It just seems very Saskatchewan, which makes you feel good. It feels right, and that's so important. And so they need to surround themselves with more people like that, and you're going to get more continuity, more consistency, more of their game plan and their messaging. I like it. I like it.
Our
agree, 100%.
Lynch, hang on. Dana, hang on. Our fact checker has texted in, Rob Vanstone, who's listening today. Actually, he's watching, and he says, Tom Higgins was the coach before Huff. I can't access the comments on the Facebook page for some reason. Shoot, I'm just happy that we're on the air, given the issues with Facebook yesterday.
Yeah.
So the boys are working on it. We've got the best tech team in the business, there's no doubt. But RV, thanks for filling us in on that. I figured that it was Higgy, baby. By the way, I was laughing last night. Vanstone had his book signing at the Indigo Chapters for his book, 100 Things Every Rider Fan Should Know Before They Die. Yep. Did you catch what he said yesterday? He goes, the book signing's at 7 until 7:03.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Talk about self-deprecating humor. Yeah. That's funny, RV. Hope you sold a lot of books last night. For the rider fan in your life, pick up that book this Christmas, 100 Things Every Rider Fan Should Know Before They Die. So on the way today, James Wilder Jr., free agent, pro football running back. I can't wait to talk to him about his future. Dave Naylor, CFL on TSN Insider, and former NHL enforcer John Scott, who, by the way, if you recall, was never really known as much of a skater. He was never known as an offensive threat. He was voted to the NHL All-Star Game while a member of the Arizona Coyotes as a joke, as a goof, as a spoof, a put-on, a ruse by fans. And I didn't agree that he should go, but he went. And he ended up being the star of the game.
MVP.
The MVP of the game. And he's that guy.
Right. He was the star of the whole weekend, and it really just, shot off. It was the start of John Scott Frenzy, and now he's this wonderful, likable character. So that's what it did. It was a feel-good story.
RV says, thanks, Rod. The book signing went to 7:04 on the strength of the Go Crazy Saskatchewan chapter. Thank you, RV. Glad that we can inject some smiles into your life this morning.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.